You gonna sit there quietly or join in?
I would hate to interrupt masterful scat.
Art. You'd hate to interrupt art.
Art. Mouth art.
I'm sorry for interrupting the artwork.
The art of your mouth. Doing the most. Oh, all right. Okay. Take it back. Take it back.
Regular Michael Fassbender in here.
Yeah, gross.
I look good. You look good.
I look good. I look good.
The wavelengths of the art are working.
Perfect.
Welcome to the low ceiling.
What's up?
I'm not sick anymore,
Holla.
although just a little. But I am infected by this film.
I'm sick to my stomach because of this movie.
Are continuing our Catherine Waterston adventure series.
We returned for another entry in J.K. Rowling's distended cinematic universe.
Let's call it another entry in the wizarding world. We don't have to bring her name into it, although we will.
Yeah. Oh, it'll come up.
J.K. back at it again, writing this one. Can I say, so we've watched all three now. I've finished Secrets of Dumbledore.
Okay.
And yeah, we're going to talk about it next. Probably later today, as we said. We'll probably talk about it. No spoilers, but Secrets of Dumbledore is good.
Secrets of Dumbledore is gooder than the other two.
Yeah, it's not great, but I think it's a good, perfectly acceptable film.
Of the three, it's the best, which isn't saying much.
Yeah. And do you want to know why?
Why?
And I'll repeat it again later.
Hit me.
J.K. Rowling did not write that alone.
Ooh.
She wrote it with the man who wrote every Harry Potter film, Steve Kloves.
Okay.
I noticed that at the end of that. I was like, why was this movie so much better? And I was like, oh.
You know what?
See.
Because leading up to Secrets of Dumbledore, every review for this movie and the one previous has been, Joanne, stop.
Yeah.
JK, please.
That's the general review of her life currently, though, I think.
Yeah.
But I will say another thing that's very controversial. This movie is also not bad. I actually think this movie is okay. Once you can gain and muster the strength to pull yourself together to actually click the button on whatever streaming service it's on, I actually don't think this movie is bad. It's better than the first one, even though the first one is the best reviewed of all three.
Yeah. And
yet I think they actually get successively better as they go on.
Can I make a case?
Absolutely not.
I don't think...
This is Wizarding Court. You cannot make a case.
I bring to stage Dr. Harry Potter.
We do not accept evidence or anything else.
No. Donald Trump Grindelwald would beg to differ, okay?
Interesting you said that because I have something to say about that later, but please make your case.
Oh, Donald Trump?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to come up.
Yeah.
So Grindelwald's shenanigans or crimes does not feel like a movie to me. The entirety of this 2 hour, several minutes, it felt like a play with effects. You know, when you watch a big budget thing and there's a lot of stuff going, it was that. This is not a movie.
So I saw some. I didn't read any reviews of this film, but I did see some on the Wikipedia page. I saw some illuminating quotes that I was like, that's totally true. And I think it was one in Variety the reviewer, he summed this movie up so well, even though, like I said, I kind of enjoy this movie. I don't think it's great. I think it's okay. He said, he was like, it's really well made. There's dazzling set pieces, yet it seemingly lacks magic. It lacks a total sense of adventure.
Yeah. And
the ensemble cast creates this situation where all you're doing is watching excessive plot making.
Yes.
And the way he said it was like, all you get is the pleasure of watching chess pieces move into position for the finale. God. And that's one of my main criticisms, which we'll kind of get to later, is like, that's the biggest problem with this movie, much like our favorite, The Eternals. Too many characters and too many stories happening.
I like a fucking bucket full of proper nouns.
Yeah.
Maddeningly though, every time they introduce a new character, they talk about them like you know everything about them. And so it's as if you know everything about them, and then the well-established characters from Harry Potter movies, they talk about them in an exhaustingly over-explained way. And at that point, I'm like, listen, this guy I already know about. This guy I know nothing about.
Yeah.
But we're gonna just like brush the fuck past it.
This is a problem I think I talked to you about, was like, the movie seems to be afraid that you're not enough of a Harry Potter fan to understand anything.
Yeah.
Because there's these little Easter eggs that... Now, okay, let me say. So, one of the things... This is the example I used when we talked about this earlier. Rings of Power, right? Lord of the Rings show. Not bad. Also, it's better than this movie, but not a great property. Better than the Hobbit movies, worse than Lord of the Rings. That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
One of the fun things about that show is wondering who the old man is. Now, I'm going to spoil completely, even though it's very obvious what it is. I'm going to spoil Rings of Power for everybody. So if you want to not hear this, skip forward, or better yet, go fuck yourself and just watch the show.
Whoa.
So the old man who falls from the sky is clearly Gandalf.
Yeah.
Although there's enough plausible deniability in the plot to be, for at least me, who's like a big Lord of the Rings nerd, to kind of be like, could be. I think
Sauron.
I had Saruman as my second running.
Yeah.
And then there was a minute there where I was like, it's got to be Saruman. But part of the pleasure of that show was kind of speculating as to the identity of this man. And this movie is like, no. Anytime someone shows up who you could possibly enjoy kind of speculating about, we tell you exactly who they are and what their purpose is. So when there's a glove floating in midair and Newt Scamander is summoned to the top of a big building in London, he sees a man and he approaches him and he says, Dumbledore.
It is your glove, Dumbledore.
He says, everybody, this man is Dumbledore. He's a big deal.
I love that you pointed out one time where like they introduced a new character and then immediately he was like, Nagini.
But Nagini is the other one. But Nagini is the more fun one to speculate about, because Dumbledore, everyone's going to get that. That's why I think the silliness of being like, hello, Albus Dumbledore, head teacher at Hogwarts, future headmaster. Like, it's so stupid. But Nagini is the actual interesting one because in Harry Potter, Nagini is just an evil snake.
That's it.
And I don't mean that metaphorically. Literally an evil snake that kills people.
And all they have her do is follow the main guy around like a little bitch.
Well, so we find out this is like Nagini's origin story is that she's a circus performer who eventually has a blood curse where she will be trapped in the body of a snake. Mm-hmm. I have my own problems with that idea because I think if I went back and read Harry Potter today and I was like, all I know is that Nagini, this evil, purely evil snake, used to be a lovely, kind Asian lady, is a little fucking annoying.
Well, it's a racist curse.
No, it's not. It's not a racist curse. It's not about that. It's about the fact that it's kind of like Nagini is just a tool that Voldemort uses to perform evil. And kind of like now the story, this is what I meant last time when I was like, this always raises more questions as they expand the universe. It's like, now you're asking me to kind of be like, Nagini's an enslaved lady inside of us. It's like, I don't know. It's too much. It's okay for the snake to just be fucking evil. But on the other hand, if they had not really focused on that, honestly, this movie and her story would be more interesting if you literally cut what Credence says to her when he just says Nagini to her. Because then as a fan, you could speculate, who is this snake lady? Who's another snake? You're like making these connections, and that's what's fun about being a fan of things.
Like, give the audience a chance to think for themselves for a hot second.
And this movie doesn't let you do that.
No.
Because it's really afraid that you're not going to understand it. And that's not, I don't think that's the fault of this movie. I think lots of movies are actually like that in a way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, something that's so dissatisfying about them is like, it's just like, why do you just think your audience are idiots? We're in the most scrutinized era of fandom ever. 60% of the people who are going to go watch this okay film and love it are huge Harry Potter fans. They're going to understand.
Of course.
You know? And I'm a very casual fan, and I would have got that that's Nagini.
Like, to your point, why are they apparating to Hogwarts? That should not be allowed.
Yeah, that's the other... Well, that wouldn't bother me, right? Yeah. That wouldn't bother me as much if there wasn't an entire novel based on that problem. The entire story of the Half-Blood Prince is about the fact that they can't apparate into the Hogwarts grounds. And I'm sure there's some like in-universe nerdery that JK is probably on X right now saying lots of really wholesome stuff and then being like, also, anyone can apparate to Hogwarts if they ask the headmaster. There's all other stuff that I want to think.
Johnny Depp should be allowed to do his best impression of David Bowie, who is also casually humanizing Hitler. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. What a shiteration of a franchise, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Can I talk about my big world thoughts about this movie though that I thought about this morning?
Yeah, let's do it.
Unless do you have something more you want to go off?
No. We can talk as
Queen. Do you want to go off on anything more?
I will continue as we progress through the plot.
Okay,
take it away.
This is going to be kind of a long thing that I've felt for a really long time, but it feels kind of relevant to this conversation, and it gives me an opportunity to talk about Game of Thrones. So one thing between like, this isn't going to shock anyone, 2016-ish and like 2020, and even after, this has to do with Donald Trump, is something that the Trump presidency did to art in a way is that it shifted the focus of evil towards like one bad man is the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Because Trump is a piece of shit and a terrible president and all that kind of stuff. Every stupid liberal progressive thing I can say right now, I think about him, right?
Yeah.
But so I'll give you an example. Game of Thrones, right? The ending, which everyone loved, is interesting because there's the White Walkers in Game of Thrones clearly represent catastrophic, human life threatening whatever, which in my mind it might as well be like climate change, right? However, the White Walkers are solved before the worst thing, which is this evil woman reigning over everybody in King's Landing named Cersei, right?
Right.
And so it's like, it's this weird flip of priorities of being like, well, climate change is so much worse than just there's the one person, you know?
Yeah.
And yet something that Donald Trump's presidency did was create this idea that just like this one fucking asshole is like the worst thing ever in comparison to existential risks to humanity.
Right.
I'm not saying that people like that are not. We're seeing it with Russia, Ukraine right now, that Vladimir Putin is a piece of shit. And I'm not saying they don't have an effect on these catastrophic risks to humanity, but it's made this weird focus on stuff where it's like, this one fucking guy is going to cause so many problems.
Yeah.
And they kind of do that in this movie a little bit. However, I thought that for a long time until I was watching it this morning, and I was like, this is really interesting because Johnny Depp, Donald Grindelwald Trump, in this film, he's this like supremacist fascist, right? And he wants this fully authoritarian thing to happen to the wizarding world.
Yeah.
However, if you watch this movie, and this is what I think is most interesting about this film, and I kind of hinted at it last time, the wizarding world currently is also kind of authoritarian and fascist.
Yes.
And I thought about this because when they apparate to Hogwarts, the defense minister of the fucking wizard world is like, hey, Dumbledore, he slaps these cuffs on him and he's like, I'm going to now surveil everything you do.
Yeah.
With no recourse.
Correct.
And no one says, hey, that's not very fair. So it's like, it's interesting because this movie brings up this like, there's outright fascist authoritarianism in Grindelwald, but then there's this democracy with fascist flavors that he's actually fighting against, which makes the reason that lots of people want to join him a little more palatable. And I just want to be clear, I'm not an authoritarian fascist, but this movie actually, it brings up this interesting thing and then doesn't explore it thoroughly.
No.
But I'm like, the way I see it at least, I'm like, there's this like interesting thing here. Yeah.
What made you think of the White Walkers association with like what made you think of like Game of Thrones focusing on this like a singular figure as the villain, which is
because
the Khaleesi?
Well, because like Grindelwald is like both of the Harry Potter main antagonists of the Harry Potter series, Grindelwald and Voldemort, are kind of that. The fascist like strong man who spells the doom of humanity in some way. Yeah. And they also like I don't know, it just made me think of that kind of thing, which I think that a lot of a lot of culture has been tinged by that. And I do think it stems from reality. And I think Donald Trump was a big part of that,
100%.
Because lots of people who write and direct and produce and whatever movies are part of progressive liberal Hollywood, and they do think Donald Trump is the worst thing to ever.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's in my mind, I'm like, well, that's silly. It's not that it's not serious, but it's also like there are such bigger risks to the world than just this one guy getting in charge, which is later, this is what's pinpointed in Secrets of Dumbledore. Right? Like this movie, I think, actually has like a better and more substantial and interesting political message than Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Because in Secrets of Dumbledore, the worst thing that could ever happen is this guy gets elected to be the head of the international wizarding community.
Right.
And that does kind of stink of every American election ever, where Democrats are basically like, if this person gets elected, the world will literally collapse on itself. And every Republican is like, yeah, whites only. Like, you know what I mean? It does kind of feel like that. And I don't know. I think it kind of echoes my complaint, I think, last time, where I was like, couldn't the story be about something more interesting? Instead, it's about a dark wizard who's a fascist authoritarian.
And it's the same in the Harry Potters. It's the same in the Fantastic Beasts. It's the same in real life.
But Voldemort, though, that's not true. Because like Voldemort, I was gonna say, and I'm wrong, but Voldemort doesn't totally like subvert democracy in order to implant himself on the throne of the wizarding world. But he does take over the Ministry of Magic.
Of course, he does, right?
But in a more like direct authoritarian way.
Yeah.
Weirdly, in Secrets of Dumbledore, which we shouldn't talk too much about it, or else we'll have nothing to say later. Yeah. But weirdly, in Secrets of Dumbledore, they go through this like Sturm and Drang to place Grindelwald on the throne. Like this big, and when it's this kind of, when Voldemort is this kind of like, I'll just kill everyone who stands in my way.
Yes.
Because I can.
Yeah. Well, because Voldemort tends to rule from a place of fear. Like he wants people to fear him. But Grindelwald wants people to love him.
Interesting.
And because, like, why does the Ministry allow for Grindelwald to even come to a place where he can even stand up in elections? It's because the people are in the streets cheering him on.
Yeah. He's like he's a
popular vote
which
guy.
Is the Donald Trump. He's a populist kind of thing, right?
There you are.
Yeah.
So if people's voices weren't charged towards this one singular figure, the whole thing with Voldemort in all the Harry Potter books has been love, and how he's never had love. And so if you can't have that, he'll take your fear.
Yeah.
And he'll rule with that. So he's a far more like free agent of chaos than Grindelwald could be.
He's an overt authoritarian.
Yeah.
Whereas like I kind of agree with the thesis in these movies that like this covert fascism that comes to power by legal means is very dangerous, because like we see that in real life today, not to be an alarmist, but like that does happen today. 100%. Right? Like we have people who like Donald Trump is fucking running an election now, and he's definitely gonna go and do a bunch of crazy ass shit when like that's his total aim. I see. But then again, it wouldn't surprise me if JK was like, actually, this is about the fascism of language and how I can't say whatever I like on X by Twitter without people yelling at me.
You know what's funny that we're talking, like, let's just, because we're talking about JK, let's get into it for 1 second. I was reading about it earlier too, that confirming that she was like a struggling single mom, right? She depended on the UK's state financial aid, which turned her books into this multi-million, probably billion-dollar franchise, and it made her one of the richest artists alive.
Yeah.
So she, in a way, like through the course of Twitter chat, has maybe tried to yank up the ladder from under her in some way. Once she's made it to the top, and you're turning into this frothing at the mouth anti-labor fucking, as progressive as you can be, free speech proponent, who is now synonymous with the term TERF, right?
Yeah.
So she devoted years of her life
head TERF
to at TERF University,
headmaster of TERF University,
of TERF U, to just fucking have at this vulnerable minority. So her actual life kind of offers a lot more glimpse into how, I don't want to say fascism, but like thought fascism takes place.
Yeah.
Than all of fucking Johnny Depp's acting could do in this film.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like this movie, this Crimes of Grindelwald, what is his fucking crime?
Very few crimes.
Very few crimes.
He's kind of like a Charles Manson-esque figure in this film. Like you could, I think I jokingly texted you being like, where are the crimes? Like I think that
misdemeanors.
I think
best.
he could stand trial, but I don't think a jury would convict.
No.
You know, if they fucking had that in the wizarding world, but you know that someone's just come in and be like, I saw him jaywalk. We should cut his head off with a spell. Yeah.
Shenanigans of Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Misdemeanors of Grindelwald at worst. Like
just an abysmal collection of fucking ill-written half scenes where, like, if you are JK, if you're drawing from your life of having felt like disillusioned by the state and not having had enough fucking support, or somehow having to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and write this incredible book, and yet somehow you become this like voice of not cool things,
of like not good stuff.
Good stuff.
My like very simplistic take on like JK as a creator is kind of like, no one in the world has more of an incentive to shut her fucking mouth, and yet she doesn't.
She does it.
And okay, like I don't want to wade too deep into this, but like people who get really upset about what she has said, and there are lots of people, right? There's a very big online backlash to J.K. Rowling. Many of them possibly believe that they may be under the impression that is wrecking J.K. Rowling's career. Mm-hmm. It is not.
God, no.
J.K.
It's making
Rowling
her more money than you could
incredibly
imagine.
Successful,
yes.
and it's so hard to like. Honestly, she would have to have like murdered a child, which I'm explicitly speculating that she has not done that.
Yeah.
But like she would have to have done something criminally horrific to
100%.
really tank her career. J.K. Rowling continues to be successful, whether you like her or not.
Yeah.
But I've always thought when all of this stuff popped off with the shit that she's talking on Twitter, I've always been like, why does she feel the need and to talk such shit? Because you're right, she came from nothing, from very little. Let's not say nothing. She wasn't sleeping under a bus shelter. Yeah. But she came from very little to be one of the wealthiest and most successful artists of all time. Yeah. And she could just sit back and just kind of like rest. Yes. You know, like you don't
do good, don't do bad, do nothing. Like do nothing.
Yeah. And not that I'm saying that it's like it's okay to like an artist, even though like she might still hold these important views but not talk about them. Yeah. And that's, you know what, that's kind of like, I get that's kind of thought crime. You can't really police that. But like it's not like Oprah Winfrey pops off at the mouth every time. Like she's just she's just like, what? I know. I have so much money that I don't have space in my house to talk. And JK is kind of the same thing, except she wouldn't call it a house, she would call it a flat. Yeah. But like I find it so baffling that she feels like she needs to be at the head of this fucking stupid brigade of people with shitty opinions.
Of course.
Because when you look at other people who are very harmfully talking that kind of shit, I don't mean this in like a positive way. They have incentives to do that. Some way they're paid by Fox News, they're paid by some fucking right-wing outlet. Yeah. They wouldn't have any success in life otherwise if they weren't talking shit. I'm thinking of like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and all these fucking people. Yeah. JK actually has a thing that she was good at, that she made all her money off, and then started going off at the fucking mouth.
Well, because once you have money, but that's not where your want probably stops, right? The best thing to want to have with money is power. And when you, like, one way to get that power is writing a book about how fascism
once you've achieved everything financially, like this is a problem with like most people who are very wealthy, is like once, like how much further can you go? How can you can't rest on your laurels. Yeah. And the other thing I said last time that I was like, J.K. Rowling thinks she's a wizard because she thinks she's special enough to withstand all of this by just like that kind of like specialness. It's weirdly like very much like a wealthy person thinks, because lots of wealthy people are born on third base and think they've hit a home run. They all think they're like, well, I got my money from working really hard. And some people, J.K. Rowling is a perfect example of someone who just fucking she used her pure magical talent to create this thing and became this super wealthy person. Lots of like sports stars and basketball players and other people, they're there is a certain myth of the self-made person, but lots of really wealthy people they just were born into a very lucky circumstance.
Totally.
But a lot of them too believe they've all done it through hard work.
Yeah, because
And
how would you
this
live
is
with
simply not
yourself if
true.
you had that kind of blunt honesty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
Do you have more to say about her and her bullshit?
No, just that generally when you write about fascism repeatedly, when you write about one figure taking over, becoming the voice of the people, but also it's the people who wanted it the whole time. Her argument is that the people want wizards to have, special powers. It's not just the one wizard who wanted it. He's just the mouthpiece. He's just amplifying the collective voice of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like her real life narrative about yeah, but I'm doing this for women only, not women XN, not women, people who think of them her whole argument is that this will take it away from feminism, and so we must be against men in some way. Fucking who knows. It's just coming out in batshit ways, and no one really likes it.
There's a word for it. It's called transphobia.
Yes.
And it's just straight up and I agree. The thing that's so weird about this movie making a very interesting political point, in my opinion, is when you think of it being written by J.K. Rowling, you're just kind of like, I don't even know what she believes.
What the fuck?
I can't tell what she thinks.
My God.
Is she a progressive? Is she somehow incredibly progressive? Except there's this one thing that she's completely just dead brained on. I don't. It's a really interesting case because of that. Because you're just kind of I don't know what to think of her. I think we should stop talking about her though.
I'm already. We've already given her way too much screen time, but. What's really surprising to me is that I had completely forgotten everything about this movie. And so I had the pleasure of watching this monstrosity for the second time, remembering nothing, which is pretty on brand for me. My memory's not great, but I remembered literally nothing when I watched this for the third or fourth time.
Yeah. Most of this movie is super unmemorable though.
Yeah.
It's only in watching it, I just finished it again this morning. It really only starts to turn into a good movie after after the library scene. Where Tina and Newt go into the library and then Lita finds them. And then the movie starts rolling and it starts to get good and starts to get interesting. And then all the mysteries, which are very poorly laid out, just kind of click into place. Mm-hmm. Everything before that is just such setup and it's. You want to talk about it? Because we can talk about this fucking plot. Because I got shit to say
get into
about
the
it.
plot.
Yeah. We open with want to backtrack. This is a good scene. The first opening sequence is good. Actually.
Yeah.
So, but again, it shows some of the cracks of the wizarding world. The fact that they removed Grindelwald's tongue, which is really
Come on now.
What did they do? They cut it out. I don't know. Anyway, so Grindelwald is in prison in New York. Carmen and Joga has a little cameo appearance as the wizarding Pickery head, whatever, Mrs. Pickery or whatever the fuck.
Sure.
Who cares? And then they're going to take him over to Europe because that's where he committed these crimes that we've heard so much about.
Alleged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he escapes in this big sky fight, which is a good scene.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like that. I like when he fills the carriage up with water. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And then when he blows the door off and the water all flies out. That's cool stuff. It's kind of the only time he does anything
worth a shit
until the very end.
Yeah. Where you finally get to see some magic.
You get to see why this guy's so fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But then later he just kind of is he's Charles Manson. He's kind of directing everyone to, even the lady who murders that baby is
There's a lot of child murder in this movie, hey?
Harry Potter's obsessed with killing kids.
It's just
yeah.
Every time I see a child plummet.
I don't want to say anything libelous. The Wizarding World franchise loves to kill kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. They love it. It's
hey,
kind of their
so
whole
does Game
thing.
of Thrones. So you're on the money there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
similarities here.
Heinous crimes.
Yeah.
Baby style.
Baby style crimes.
Baby size.
Baby size crimes. Yeah.
Ooh.
Back in London, Newt is trying to get he's been banned from international travel.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess is reasonable. I don't know.
Sure.
Considering all the havoc he went on in New York, which we find out later Dumbledore sent him to New York. Now
he can't put his beast in his bag and keep it there. He's
keep
always
your beast in your pants.
Keep it in your pants,
Yeah.
Newt.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, okay, so then we meet Zoe Kravitz and Theseus, who I have still refused to look up the actor's name who plays Theseus.
It's Shawn Mendes. I'm just kidding. Fucking Newt's brother. He looks like a pop actor, but he
looks like someone from One Direction.
He's not him.
Yeah.
He's not the guy. He's just a different guy.
He's fine. He doesn't have a lot going.
No.
Yeah.
It's not his fault, but
everything we're talking about, it suffers from the main issue being that there's way too many fucking characters, and in this movie they introduce even more, and it gets exhausting.
More. Yep.
Newt is trying to travel again. Some issue I have with this scene in the Ministry of Magic is that, like, he's like, oh, I want to. Like, the movies were clearly not meant to be a trilogy because he's just like, Credence is dead, and he's like, guess again, bitch, Credence is alive. And
where does he come from?
Here's something as like a fan of films, and even like this movie and this trilogy, it kind of suffers from something similar to what Star Wars went through, where you're just kind of like, can't you plan the thing? Can't you just have a plan? Can we ask for more from creators that if J.K. Rowling's going to write Fantastic Beasts 1, sure, maybe they're like, listen, we'll greenlight FB2 if FB1 is successful. But J.K., if you were to make an FB2, what do you think the story would be? Can we just ask that before we ever make the first one?
She's like, but what about FB5? I want there to be 5.
Obviously she is not, because this movie has all these things that it's like, well, Credence is alive, actually. And it's like, it's so like everything, especially a gigantic cinematic universe style film, is they're going to try and turn it into a trilogy.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yes.
Everyone knows that. So when you're going in to pitch the first in what could potentially be a trilogy, have a fucking plan as to where it's going to go. Or else you get shit like this where...
Maddening.
Yeah. Ezra Miller, a completely uncomplicated person, is now back in the film trilogy. He's back.
Yeah.
Back
in the first...
Better than ever.
First Fantastic Beasts, Ezra Miller explodes to death in the last scene. In the second Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald now, where does he come from?
Well, like, he was an obscurial, right?
Yeah.
In the first one. Is he still an obscurial? Yes, he is. No, he is.
Yeah.
Because he explodes, but now he can control it or something. I don't know.
Right.
It's never really explained.
Presumably he's learned to do better somehow by himself, because he's now with Grindelwald.
Yeah. I think it's because a lot of people...
I saw this movie today, and I already don't know where he came from.
I think I feel like he learned to do better because a lot of people on Twitter tweeted at him, do better. And then did stuff like with the clap emoji in between, and we're like, do not kill innocent people with your obscurial powers. Do better. Hashtag do better.
Hashtag do better.
And Ezra Miller was like, guess again, bitch.
Ezra Miller's like, I'm a great cloud in real life, and I float through New York causing havoc. So.
Why is he British?
I don't know. Fucking, he's Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller's American.
I'm a great cloud.
He's resided in Hawaii for a while, as far as I can remember.
God damn it. All right, let a fucking girl live.
All right. So, so they're like they want Newt to help find Credence, and they'll allow him to internationally travel to Paris, where Credence is, if he helps Theseus find him. And Newt in the classic protagonist style, he's like, no, I'm accepting the call to action. And then he leaves, and then Theseus is like, they have you under surveillance. My authoritarian friends have you under surveillance. And then Newt leaves and is like, what's that glove doing floating in the air?
It's Dumbledore.
Dumbledore. Jude Law.
Better than ever.
Fucking king.
What a beauty.
So happy to see the guy.
Yeah.
And great casting for a young Dumbledore.
100%.
Honestly. Like, really, really good. I can't think of a better cast person who could have done it, honestly. Yeah, Michael Gambon. Right. This is actually a good time around this. Michael Gambon just died the other day. One of the Dumbledores.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. Only one left. Just Jude Law to kill. I mean, to die of natural causes.
Jesus. Rest in peace, Michael Gambon. Love. Yeah. But yeah.
You know what? Underrated role. Sleepy Hollow, Michael Gambon.
Shit, right?
Amazing in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, what is up? Another Grindelwald joint.
Dude, we watched Sleepy Hollow like recently, right?
Recently, yeah.
He's such a king in that fucking movie. Like, it's unreal.
God.
He puts everyone to shame.
Is he also in Kingdom of Heaven?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's Orlando Bloom.
Gladiator. Michael Gambon is...
No, Richard Harris is in Gladiator.
Oh, shit, that is the first
Are you trying to
Dumbledore.
goad me into doing my Richard Harris? I do it every episode now. And every time I do the impression,
Harry.
I also say that I was in Gladiator. So it's strange that you haven't heard me.
Harry Gladiator, I hardly knew her.
Harry, this mirror will show you whatever you like. Just shut the fuck up and look in it, you stupid little bastard.
Stupid little bitch, Harry.
Stupefy!
Well done.
I'm Richard Harris, Jared Harris's dad, and I'm dead. Anyway, SNL call me.
Oh, jeez.
So Dumbledore is like, yo, you didn't want to before, but you should go to Paris and find Credence. And Newt's like, oh, Dumbledore. All right.
I just said no to the other guy. Like, what the fuck?
It's like, but I can't say no to you because you're Jude Law.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No one's going to say no to Jude Law.
Can I say something absolutely insane now that I just thought of it?
What else is new?
Eddie Redmayne has more Academy Awards than Jude Law.
Shut your mouth.
World. I'm gonna tweet at the Academy with the clapping emojis if they don't remedy this immediately.
Yeah, but could Jude Law do a Stephen Hawking like Eddie Redmayne could?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
You think Jude Law
could
be weird enough? I think Jude Law is a straight actor.
Yeah, Jude Law, he played Stephen Hawking in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Close your mic, leave the room. I was waiting for a serious answer.
And babe, he was nominated for an Academy Award, so who's wrong now?
Well, he did kill it in The Holiday.
Richard Harris has more Academy Awards as well.
J.K. Rowling, take a break from writing challenge. Fucking hell. Yeah. So
she could, but she won't.
Two whole companies are pushing Newt Scamander to go look for Credence in Paris.
Yeah.
The Ministry and Dumbledore.
There's a thing that happens in this next sequence that is kind of like a weird... I'm very nitpicky about it, but you might have noticed too. It's kind of like a weird writing sin that I hate. Mm-hmm. And I'll explain it in a second. So Credence is at the carnival, the magical carnival.
Yeah.
He finds Nagini. Nagini is cursed to become a snake later, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
The carnival, something goes wrong at the carnival. They pack up and leave. Tina is also there looking for Credence. Tina, the carnival fucks off, and Tina is like, oh, now what? And then a gentleman comes and approaches her, Yusuf Kama?
Yeah.
It's Yusuf Kama, right?
Yusuf Kama.
Yeah. Do not like this guy's performance, but interesting character. He's like, I think we're looking for the same person. Let's talk.
Yeah.
They go to a cafe and talk. Later, Newt, Jacob and Queenie show up from New York. Queenie has enchanted Jacob to be in love with her, which she didn't need to do.
Of course, J.K. Rowling writes a character
mind raping
where
another one.
A female
Yeah.
character presumably assaults her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Bro.
I hate to harp on about it. Alison Sobel is on another level of bad in this movie. She's I hate her performance. I don't love it, and I don't like what she's doing, and I feel like it's bad. And again, I don't want to. It's not her fault. Just a bad character, just a dumb bad character.
Yeah.
But the good news is, I do think Kowalski and Newt have some good chemistry. So they show up, and then Newt breaks the enchantment, and then Jacob's like, "Where the fuck am I?" And Queenie is like, "We're in London.
I just wanted to kiss you.
I just want to marry you.
Yeah.
I can't do New York accent,
I
but I
didn't
can
want
talk like
consent.
this.
I wish to take it away from consent."
I wanted to take all advantage of you and your pastries. That's not a euphemism.
Well, it's pace. Okay, I can get behind that. Yeah.
And then they have an argument, and then Queenie goes to find... Queenie also, everyone wants to find Tina. She goes off to Paris to find Tina because she knows she's there. And then Newt sees her postcard and then figures out, hey, Tina's in Paris. So now I know I want to go. Even though everyone told me to go, now I'm definitely going because I want to get that Goldstein-nussy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they go and they take a port key to Paris.
Yeah.
Why don't they just apparate? I don't know. I just don't know. So they take a port key to Paris and they show up. First off, there's a really cool shot of Newt, and behind him you see up this street and you see Sacré-Cœur, this big beautiful cathedral I was showing you pictures of it the other day. And it's like a cool shot for a minute there. Sacré-Cœur in French means sacred core. And no, sacred heart.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay.
So then they commence with this scene, and this is where the writing sin comes in, where they try to figure out what happened and where Tina is. As viewers, we already know that.
Yes.
We don't need to know that.
We've been told and shown.
You don't need to. And it's so this is like a thing where I'm just like, it's whether the scene is entertaining or not, which it's not. It's such a waste of time.
Yes.
Because like there's nothing worse than like it's just kind of like a writing no to just kind of be like, it's like, dude, we already know. You told us explicitly what happened.
Yeah.
We literally saw the scene that you're now telling us happened. That is so annoying to me. And I don't know why. Like it's not even like that purposeful.
Well, I feel like all of it is down to in some fault a fucking directorial decision. Because no matter the pace of the plot or the way it's put together or the editing or telling the story and then showing it, it feels like it's just becoming like this fucking Brexit equivalent of Michael Bay. Like, so what the fuck is going on?
There's this thing where it's like, okay, let's put our writing caps on here for a second. There's this circus, right? That's happening, this performance. And the purpose of that whole set piece is to tell two different stories. Credence is there with Nagini and escapes. And Tina is there looking for Credence. The Credence one is important to us as the viewers. The Tina one is not. So basically, like, you could have that whole sequence and then kind of cut it just as Tina shows up to show that she was there.
Yeah.
And then cut to Newt filling us in what happened later that night.
That's it.
You know,
two sentences.
And then later when they're kidnapped by Yusuf Kama, kind of figure that part out, basically. I have to be quite honest that the part where they're kidnapped by Yusuf Kama, I paid no attention to.
Because no one cares about it too.
It's weirdly, this is like a very obvious criticism, but it's like both times I watched this movie, I checked out at this point. Because and then checked back in later.
They don't tell us his intentions. We don't know any motivation. We're just like, why the fuck is this guy?
He wants to kill Credence. That's all we know.
Yeah, all we know is he wants to kill him. And until much later, we don't find out why. And even when we find out why, it is the laziest, non-motivated.
He thinks like Credence is one of the Lestranges.
Yes.
He says that. He says they're part of an old French line of pureblood people. Apparently the only fucking French family in the Harry Potter universe are Lestranges, which makes sense because they're all inbred fucking idiots, except for Lita.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and she had a younger brother who died. We see in this flashback she encounters a boggart, which echoes a Harry Potter scene where they have to make it look ridiculous, and it shows their greatest fear. Newt's greatest fear is a desk job, and Lita's like, I got you covered, boy. And her greatest fear, she sees this floating white veil in water. Her story should be the central narrative of the film.
Yeah.
Because it's the most interesting. Yeah. And it's actually what a lot of the film hinges upon. But there's just so much other bullshit going on that's so annoying. I said it last time. I thought in Fantastic Beasts 1 that Jacob Kowalski should have kind of been the protagonist, like the point of view that the audience sees the movie through.
Yeah.
But he's so happy at the end of 1, I kind of wish he didn't continue in this movie.
Yeah.
That way we could get rid of him, we could get rid of Queenie, not just because I don't like Alison Sobel's performance, but you could cut those kind of relationships out of the film.
Don't need them.
Just bring Tina back. And then in the next movie, even though Catherine Waterston didn't
appear at all.
She had to film something else, so she couldn't be there. You could not have Kowalski and Queenie and have more space. That's kind of the problem, is there's not enough space in these films to sufficiently tell every story. Basically, they're captured by Yusuf Kama. Like, I don't know. During this whole time, the thing is, like, Grindelwald isn't really committing crimes. He's just hanging out of this house and just being Grindelwald. And then he kind of finds Queenie and he's like, hey, you should come with us. And she's like,
ditzy little bitch.
No, I don't wanna.
I do what I want, and then I'll do what you want
I'm from
too.
New York. I'm walking here, bitch. I don't know what. I cannot do her voice. When I hear it, I can do it, but I can't.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, I can't conjure it out of thin air. Later, they go to the evil librarian's lair to find these documents about Lita Lestrange. Tina and Newt. After escaping Yusuf Kama, who they leave to die in the gutter, I guess. I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The middle part is fucking so
and
forgettable.
that shit goes on for an hour.
Yeah.
It's an hour of stuff happening, and then it doesn't. Ultimately, they are all trying to get to the fucking place in Paris called...
Yeah, we'll get there. But so they go to the library, they look up these documents about the Lestrange family. Lita joins them, and then the librarian is like, wow, I really fucked up at my job by not checking the ID. I should kill these people with my cats. Which is just ridiculous. That evil librarian is such a stupid, good, fun action sequence, plot-wise, completely ridiculous.
That's why it's not a movie.
Yeah.
That's why it feels like it's a very rich stage play production.
Yeah. And then they end up at the graveyard, the crypt of the Lestranges, basically, where Lita, Theseus, Newt, Tina, not Theseus, Newt, Tina, Yusuf, Lita, all kind of converge. And Credence. And
like every pivotal point person in this movie is there.
Credence has been led to believe he's Corvus Lestrange.
Yes.
And Yusuf believes he is Corvus Lestrange as well.
This is where Yusuf tells the story of why he's chasing Credence.
Yes. And then Yusuf tells the story of his family, which is his mother, that he was part of a kind of wealthy Senegalese descended family. Mm-hmm. His mother was put under the Imperius curse by Lestrange and abducted. He then raped her, essentially, and gave birth to Lita, and then also gave birth to another brother from another woman after the... Lita's mom died, and then Lestrange gave birth to another child, Corvus. Yusuf believes that Credence is Corvus, but he's not, because Lita accidentally let Corvus drown in a boating accident.
What I don't understand is why he believes Credence is this baby Corvus.
That part went over my head too.
I don't even know if they ever explain it. He's just always hunting this guy on some whim, or he's like, oh, this evil baby, I'm just going to project all of my childhood trauma onto this random Ezra Miller character, and you are my so-called stepbrother who I want to murder because you...
Because he vowed revenge. His father asked him to get revenge on, as I just found out, the older Corvus, who is the father of Lita and Corvus. Now, the problem I had with this plot, as we chatted about it earlier, the older Corvus Lestrange, the older man, is so unspeakably evil.
Classic Lestrange.
But I just find it just so weak that it feels like a very convenient plot device.
That's exactly it.
He does something incredibly evil, and we have no opportunity to explore why.
It's
just
like,
the fact that he's a real bad guy.
That's it. That's it. It's like, why does Malfoy do mean things to Harry? He must just be a bad guy, which is the case in the first few movies. Because his dad's a bad guy, and he's from a family of Death Eaters.
We
and
come to find that Draco is doing it. There's many,
and then later they let him evolve over 6 movies.
Same with Voldemort.
Same with Voldemort.
Yeah.
But in this one, they're just like, yeah, we got 6 minutes on this guy. He's just gonna be a rapist. Goodbye. That's it.
Yeah.
No context.
There's
no
like
nothing.
It's just a device. And my problem with it is his villainy really offers no reason to it. And I don't know, like good villains have more dimensions to them. And I know that we don't have a lot of time to like delve into his historical background in the film, another problem. But it just feels like it's just there, like many fucking things that J.K. Rowling writes. This is like, this happens to solve the plot problem I'm looking for, and therefore I'll use it. And it's kind of like, this isn't enough. This is not enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels a little dismissive because it's part of this incredibly abusive dynamic that's happening. And I don't know. I also, can we divert for 1 second? If I could talk to J.K. Rowling, which I don't want to, I have serious questions about the Imperius curse and how it works.
Okay.
Because if you remember, in Goblet of Fire, someone had Barty Crouch Sr. under the Imperius curse for years.
Yes.
Or did he have his son or his wife under the Imperius curse for years, right?
Well, Barty Crouch Jr. is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but Barty Crouch Sr. had him under the Imperius for years, correct? So what I'm saying is, like, the Imperius curse makes them follow every command.
That's it.
But do you, as the person using the curse, have to constantly be fucking adjudicating their life while they're under the curse? Like, do you have to be sitting there being like writing in your diary and then being like, get the milk.
I think it's more
pick
like
up onions from the store to them, like while they're and like, oh, act normal in this place. Like it's
blanket. I think it's more like an AI command where you're like, pretend you're this guy for the rest of your life. Go. And
yeah,
then
but do
everything
you
is
have
fed
to
in.
divide your mind to their mind?
I think if you're powerful enough, you just like your mind can do other things. It's an agent of itself. And if it wants to control a small nation, it should be able to while you're doing your laundry.
I suppose because like I assume in lots of cases, like in the Corvus Lestrange and Kama Yusuf's mother's case, right? Like he's just like lay down in the room, just like stay there.
Yeah.
You know, but in the one that I've always thought this since I read the book, the one with Barty Crouch was always like, yeah, but this guy's going about his normal day to day all the time under the Imperius curse in some way. Am I right about that? One of them is someone is placed under the curse for a really long time.
Oh, Mad Eye, I think, no?
No, because Mad
Eye's
just lying. Mad Eye's just lying asleep in this prison.
In this box,
but Barty Crouch Jr. is polyjuiced him. But there's a point where someone was like put under the curse for a really long time. And I've just always wondered about the mind management of that. Like, how does it work, right?
I wonder if they just, unless you free them, they just stay that way. And maybe over time they just go mad and die, or they forget it.
I wonder if it's a thing where it's like you can keep them running on low level, but but you're kind of like aware of what they're doing. And if they ever do anything you don't want them to do, you can just be like, don't do that, do this. And then if you're ever just kind of like sit still for 12 hours, they'll just do it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a really convenient plot device, JK, but it has serious, weird implications.
That's why it's an unforgivable curse, babe.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of the top 3.
You know what, man? People they fling around these unforgivable curses like nothing, you know?
It's quite easy when you're dark wizard.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the Aurors kills a lady with a curse in this movie.
Well, that's what was implied when Newt's brother, you know, one of the ministry people are like, guys, let's not be violent and give them a reason to, you know, add fuel to the narrative that Aurors are sometimes pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So don't.
They're regular old cops, you know. It's like, guys, this is a peaceful protest, so just pepper spray, tear gas, and beat them with your clubs. Okay?
Okay, not guns.
Don't kill them, just put them in the fucking hospital. You know, they're regular old fucking cops, man.
Yeah, a little bit.
They know what's up. So then we find out, Credence is not Corvus. Credence is Credence. He's someone else. We don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Lita reveals that she had, on her way to America, she had swapped the babies and Corvus ended up dying in this. He drowned.
Yeah.
Very sad. Good story, really interesting.
Maybe the Titanic? Probably not.
Yeah, I thought that. Lita also drops probably the best written line of the movie where Newt says like something like, "Oh, I would forgive you," and she's like, "You've never met a monster you couldn't love." Aww. Really, the only well-written thing in this film. Yeah. I thought it was perfect.
Okay.
Later, they all head off. They realize that Grindelwald is calling all of his followers. After doing a strong social media campaign, he's got enough populist movement to call all of his followers to this place. And then this is where I thought of what I had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He talks about how there are these like fascist undertones to the current wizarding world, right? That they had killed followers of his and things like that. And like, well, we can make a better future, better than this. We can make the super fascist world instead of this mildly fascist one.
Wild. Because I have a note about that too. Like, so how he introduces in the cemetery, wherever they are, it's like a coliseum almost where people are sitting around him. So it's got a muggle, Jacob, who maddeningly no one realizes he's there. Mm-hmm. A bunch of pureblood wizards. And then, of course, some mixed blood wizards who are probably Aurors, right? So Johnny Depp starts toking out of a human skull hookah and then broadcasts this visual of straight up fucking Holocaust imagery.
II, yeah.
Okay. At this wizard supremacy rally. And then this is the part where Johnny Depp Grindelwald confirms that literal Holocaust takes place in this universe, making the whole kind of Voldemort equals Hitler analogy.
Yeah.
Or like leading up to, for the audience to be like, hey guys, even though my platform is that Muggle genocide happened by hands of...
Rules.
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen. World War II has not happened yet.
Okay.
He's giving a vision of what the Muggles
might
will
happen,
wrought
right?
upon the world.
Got it. So he's basically arguing that if we just put all these Muggles in camps, one of them is bound to be Hitler. So let's just prevent the Holocaust by killing all Muggles, so there's no Hitler born. What the fuck?
As I said, I think there's no drip of coincidence that he's headquartered in Austria.
I can't.
One thing about that, this is a problem I have with a lot of kind of movies like this, and it's a problem that I have with the Eternals, which we talked about. Is like when you do these kind of like alternate history or history tinged with something else kind of visions, is they always end up, in my opinion, asking like fundamentally dumb questions.
Yeah.
And the one in like the one in the Eternals is they're just like, oh, is humanity worth saving? And like the people watching these movies are like, yeah, because we're humans. So why don't you fucking do something about it, then, you fucking assholes? Yeah, right? And this movie, I think the fundamentally stupid question in this film is like, oh God, wouldn't it be great if World War II never happened? But it's like, well, we know it did.
Yeah.
And so am I meant to... Where's the tension here? Where's the narrative tension? Because in Harry Potter, are we meant to believe that World War II might not have happened?
Yeah.
Like,
what the
we know it happened.
Of course.
So why do, like, the thing that I'm kind of like, why do I care what happens now?
Well, that's why there's such a big thing for like Muggles can never see Hogwarts. Like they can't even see it with their real eyes, or like they have to know that there's a disconnect.
They definitely can't fucking apparate onto the ground.
Can't apparate onto there. There's a clear invisibility between magical world and human world. Maybe for the reason that Eternals did the same thing, that we cannot intervene in human actions because what has to happen will happen, should happen. Same thing in fucking X-Men with like the whole, maybe we should wipe out all the LGBT X-Men characters and make sure that in
X-Men 3.
Yeah. Like the whole mutation being that the
babe,
queer
do you mean
gene.
a classic episode of The Low Ceiling that is probably one of our best ever?
It is true.
Directed by the great Brett Ratner.
Top 10, guys.
X-Men 3, The Last
X-Men 3 is
Stand.
definitely worth checking out. But my God, maddeningly, all the tropes are like, but all these things are already here.
Yeah.
People are gay. People are happy. People are dead because of war. Like everything has happened. So what's the fucking point?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is because kind of like we kind of know that Harry Potter does follow the history of our world. There's nothing in it that's like the history of the Wizarding world and Muggle world are so separate that they can have different kind of histories. But then when you intertwine them with the human world, it's a little bit like, can I draw like a comparison? Mm-hmm. This is for the real nerds out there. Ooh. There's this book that is considered a very, very good fantasy book. It's called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, or Mr. Norrell and Jonathan Strange. I don't know. I think the author is
Jonathan Strange and
Susanna
Mr.
Clarke.
Norrell.
I have it on my shelf right there. As you can see, that book is a foot wide and it's gigantic. And it's a very, very good book. If you ever want to give it a chance and like give it the time, because it's very long and very dense, but a really, really interesting book about magic. And one of the things that it does is it's about the creation of wizardry in England during the Napoleonic Wars, right? And there's these scenes that are, she so beautifully intertwines these scenes with real historical events, like the use of magic during like the Battle of Waterloo. But the problem in Harry Potter, I find, is that like the magic is so ridiculously overpowered that you're just kind of like, well, why don't you just do that thing
all the time?
Like if you were in some sort of, whereas like in this book, it's kind of like you can create rain, You can create mud. You can do these kinds of things that are like, they're not so insanely overpowered that they could completely change the course of history.
Yeah.
Whereas in Harry Potter, that's kind of the question that bothers me about World War II, is because I'm like, if you see that, you don't need to kill all muggles to stop World War II when there are so much more elegant solutions based on how fucking insanely powerful you are.
Yeah.
And it just, but yes, the problem is, and I'm sure if we ever get Fantastic Beasts 5, the issue that I'm sure will come up is like, I swear to God, this is what's going to happen, is Dumbledore is going to be like, it's better to let history play out. And then as audiences, we're just going to be like, oh, well, fucking,
what did we say?
Who cares?
Jesus
Who cares
Christ.
then? You know, like we know that's what anyway. So that's the annoying part, I think, of this film.
Because like a lot of the times magic and other in this book that you're talking about is handled in the way that's advancement in science could be justified. Like you can create fake rain. You can create like stuff that is tangible with science, with mechanics, like you could with magic. It's based
on the reality of the world, like the physical properties of the universe. Yeah.
But even in the Napoleonic War, they're not going to time travel 6 minutes into the future and suddenly be in 2020.
Well, yeah, we were talking yesterday, and a friend reminded me that most of the things in the Harry Potter universe could be prevented if they had that little time turner from Azkaban. Like
for everything. As soon as they introduced that time turner thing, my first thought was J.K. Rowling's going to get into politics. I fucking knew. Like 10 years from now, oh my God, and now I have it on tape. Like she's going to run hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weird time.
Anyway, one of the Aurors kills one of these followers of Grindelwald, and Grindelwald is like, I told you, they're such jerks.
Oh,
and then
no.
he's like, everyone leave. And then he creates this blue flame, and he's like, people, everyone join me. We're going to blah, blah, blah. And like Queenie joins him, and some other people burn up in this fire.
Yeah.
And then then he's using this fire to be like, if you don't join me, I'll fucking kill you, which I guess is a crime. And I mean, in the wizarding world, it's the punishment for literally everything you do. So, and then Lita Lestrange sacrifices herself to save everybody. Lita Lestrange, who's Theseus's
British
fiance, is like, but then Theseus is like, man, that sucked that my fiance died horribly in front of my eyes. And then like he just does not mourn her in any way.
No.
Can I also, I forgot to point this out earlier in the plot. Tina thinks that Newt is engaged to Lita Lestrange.
Yes.
So a very large portion of this plot is based on the fact that the editor of the Wizarding News fucking sucks and didn't fact check the picture that they were printing in their stupid wizard magazine.
Also, they couldn't have had one single conversation because of Eddie Redmayne's crippling social anxiety that he couldn't bring up the point that, hey, I'm not engaged. End of sentence.
Yeah, don't they talk through fireplaces in this fucking thing? Like, come
on. They
on.
walk together 17 miles. It's like...
It's so, it's like many plot points in this film. It's very flimsy.
So
and
stupid.
Kind of like falls apart with a little scrutiny, in my opinion. And that's what bothers me a lot. But it's strange when it's weird because you like read a thing.
Yeah.
Like and I understand that J.K. Rowling is a very powerful author and writer, but it's kind of like, did David Yates ever go like, isn't that a little weak, JK? And like, didn't they ever have a conversation about it?
And she must have been like, shut up, Brexit, Michael Bay. Do as I say. Blandtastic queefs.
I don't know.
Fucking Dr. Harry Potter.
So, all right, we've been talking way too long about this fucking movie. So later, during all of this fracas, Newt Sniffler, the best character in the entire film who's done nothing wrong ever, steals a little vial of something from little money horny platypus.
Yeah.
Steals this little jewel off of Grindelwald. Later, when Grindelwald all leaves, and they've all kind of been like, all right, we're all gonna kick this guy's ass later, right? They go back to Dumbledore, and Newt is like, hey, Dumbledore, what is this? Is it an unbreakable vow? And Dumbledore is like, fuck yeah, bro.
It's a blood vow.
It's a blood vow. He cannot fight Grindelwald.
And Grindelwald can't fight him.
Grindelwald can't fight him, which at least sufficiently answers why when, like, a question that I had early on in this movie where I was like, so this, like, the British ministry has at their disposal one of the most powerful wizards of all time. And he's just like, I'm enjoying my teaching position. And I don't think I'm going to get involved.
Am I hanging out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
he's
hanging
like, I'm happy just teaching these little kids, which is a noble pursuit.
I got tenure.
I'm not wrong, but he could take maybe a week off and kick the shit out of this guy. Then you find later he can't. However, on the other hand, if you're making a movie about Dumbledore, you want to see him kick the fuck out of somebody.
Yeah. Which you will make a movie about
Spoiler
Dumbledore
alert, yes.
later. So.
There's a fantastic Secrets of Dumbledore scene with that.
Mm-hmm.
Kicks the fuck out of his nephew. Anyway, and then back in Austria, Grindelwald is like, Credence, sorry you're not a Lestrange, but check out this phoenix. It comes to anyone who's a Dumbledore. And he's like, you're Aurelius Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And Credence
is like,
who I guess we can call Aurelius now, shoots a big ass fireball out of his wand and is like, I'm gonna fuck shit up now.
yeah.
Because Grindelwald's like, that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
The end. So
We've been talking for an hour and 10 minits about this.
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
movie.
I have a top
Let's
5.
go into this top 5, bro. Yeah.
Top 5 complete list of crimes of Grindelwald.
Oh my God, this is so funny because earlier you were like, I have 3 and I'm really struggling for the other 4. And now with this, now that I know that. Yeah.
Okay, number 5 crime of Grindelwald. Murder, I guess.
I guess so. A lot of those people ran
It's pretty low on the list.
A lot of those people ran into the fire of their own volition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like, psych, it's blue, but it burns.
Also, he has kind of plausible deniability with the child that is killed by the Vada Kedavra because he doesn't say, murder that kid. That woman just fucking does it.
She just does it.
Yeah.
He's out here just proxy murdering. Number 4, vaping. It's bad, guys.
Yes. Vaping is bad.
He poofs into this like human skull and conjures a cloud of smoke that contains images of war. Basically, if you do it on the street, that could happen. Don't vape.
Vaping within 6 feet of a doorway. Yeah. That's literally illegal where we live.
Uncool.
So.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That's a Grindelwald crime. Number 3.
Thanks, Trudeau.
God damn it. Being Johnny Depp.
Well, that's a crime in the public court. For sure.
One, in the context of this universe, what a downgrade from Colin Farrell. My God. Just keep him. Just keep him and let him be goofy.
I actually don't think Johnny Depp is bad in this. I think he looks terrible, but I don't think he's bad. There's a scene when they're first in that Paris apartment where he kind of talks about what he wants, where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of, I want Johnny Depp to just be like a little more restrained and stuff. And he's actually fairly restrained in this movie. Although that can also kind of come across as like, I'm just making $10 million. Pay me. Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. Anyway.
That'll last me 2 weeks on a boat.
Yeah. That'll be 50% of my wine budget for the shoot of this film.
Hey,
the duration
it's rum budget.
No, did you ever hear that about his wine thing?
No, what?
Oh, it's such a classic Johnny Depp story. He was like interviewed about his. He was interviewed years ago before all these legal problems with Amber Heard came up.
Yeah.
They were interviewing about just stuff. I don't know. Probably had relation to a movie, but it was a very wide-ranging interview. And he talked about the fact that he owned a town in France.
Classic.
With all of his money.
Where his kids probably grew up.
He just runs this town in France, basically. But there's this line, this very classic line in the interview where the guy was like, I heard somewhere that you would spend like $30,000 a day on wine. And Johnny Depp was like, it's way more than that.
Well, like sometimes a bottle can be 10 grand, no?
Well, I think I kind of get the impression that money was very no object to Johnny at the time.
No.
But part of the thing was that he was like excessively spending and then lost a lot of his money.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Hey.
Because running a town and spending $30,000 a day is expensive.
If I lived in France with Johnny Depp money, you best believe.
Yeah, dude.
You best believe she drank in $30,000 wine. Not one of the crimes of Grindelwald.
No.
Drinking wine, okay.
One of the fucking
Vaping.
coolest parts of Grindelwald.
Don't vape. Number 2, bad hair. Bad hair.
Yes. Really
Like,
bad hair.
Not just
Cool eye, bad hair.
cool eye, cool hair color, just bad hairdo.
Yes.
Make it more like what it was in the opening scene when it's all shaggy and a little bit
That
like
is-
Ollivander
yeah.
looking, where he's just unkempt. Do that. He's too slick to be that cool.
It's too
hipster.
The thing is with villains sometimes when you're like, it's really hard it's distracting when you're like, does this villain have to spend an hour and a half every day getting ready to look like the way they do.
Yeah.
You know, like Darth Vader just puts his fucking helmet on.
Yeah.
I find that always kind of like, I was like, it's too perfect. You know?
Come on.
Yeah.
What do you?
At least when Mads takes over, he's got a sick little comb over, and you're just like, that's okay, good. Yeah, that's
it.
all I want. Yeah.
Neat, clean, German.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Drop the. It's cleaner.
Drop the. That's number 2 crime. And number 1 crime of Grindelwald, not making sweet, sweet love to young Dumbledore, Jude Law, or just embrace him.
Yeah.
Why are you not holding hands right now? You're gonna fight with this sweet Adonis of a man? You crazy? Crime.
Yeah.
Hating Jude Law, crime. Creating a blood oath so you can't kiss Jude Law, crime.
Not giving Jude Law an Academy Award for his portrayal of Stephen Hawking in The Talented Mr. Ripley, big crime.
Jude
Huge
Law is
crime.
hot in this movie, but at what cost?
I think Eddie Redmayne should give his Academy Award to Jude Law.
Eddie Redmayne should take a nap, my guy, and wear chapstick.
Yeah.
Use some of the $30,000.
We're gonna end in 2 minutes. I just want to say one last thing about Eddie Redmayne. The more these movies go on, the less they really are about Newt Scamander. And
yes.
I like Eddie. I think Eddie Redmayne does a good job in this movies. Yet his role is so underwritten that he ends up getting relegated to like part of the minor cast, and it's so I feel bad for him because the dude is an Academy Award winner.
Everybody's story is more exciting than Eddie Redmayne's in every single film.
He's a passive protagonist. We should wrap this shit up because this is going on way too long for the film The Crimes of fucking Grindelwald. Okay.
There's no crime.
Yeah.
None but fashion crimes.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back later with Secrets of Dumbledore. Then you will be free of all of this nonsense.
Yeah, man. No more shackle bolt for any of you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.